All right, I'll call this meeting to order. We will start with a roll call.
Alrighty. Committee member Jason Byrne.
Here?
Committee member Leah Wiseman.
Here.
Committee member Jen Hanks.
Here.
Committee member Brenda Lambie.
Here.
Committee member John Hibbs. Committee member Paul Krebs. And committee member Robert Tommy. Okay.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the invocation. Take a moment of silence with me, please. All right, we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, sir, not that I know of.
All right, with that, we will move on to part one of the regular agenda, and item number 500 is election of the chairperson for the Parks, Recs, and Mobility Advisory Committee for the calendar year 2026.
Yes, sir.
Is there any discussion about the,
You only had 2 meetings today.
are there any nominations from the roll?
Yes.
I mean, I'm the next in line, so to speak. If you say assistant to it, I could do it if no one else wants to volunteer.
It's however you want to do it. If you'd like to nominate yourself, you can do so.
I would also be willing to continue if any.
Oh, yeah, can you go right 2 in a row?
Yeah.
Oh, leave them in the job then.
I thought that's
Yeah,
what you wanted, Leah.
Let's keep it as is. I like this.
I thought we had to change.
Oh,
No,
If
no,
anybody
you
else
don't have
wants
to
it, that's
unless-
fine too. I'll step
Oh,
aside, but I'm
that-
also willing to
Next year,
continue.
you'd had at least a few meetings to be the head honcho, but then we might think about it. Okay.
Okay, I don't know, I think we have to have a nomination and a second, so who,
I'm nominating you.
okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, nomination on the floor is me, all those in favor,
aye.
Aye.
opposed? Okay,
Can I just make sure I have clarification on who was the second? Okay, I apologize. I wasn't looking down when I heard the second. I
All the
apologize.
ladies sound alike or something?
okay,
Beautiful.
item 501 is the election of the vice chairperson of the Parks Recs Committee. Do we have any nominations?
I'll nominate Leah.
Oh, good, I wanted to do it myself.
Lee, would you like to accept? Okay,
I'll second.
Beautiful.
all right, all those in favor? Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
opposed? All right, moving right along.
Easy peasy.
Okay, seeing there's no awards and presentations or the informational agenda, is there any additional public input at this point?
I
Seeing
did not receive
none?
any.
We will move on to item number 300, the consent agenda, the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Is there any discussion or amendments for the minutes?
No.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Hold on, because I was, I can do it and then ask for a little more detail sometime. Because this is the only way the commission actually, unless they listen to the tape, know what we were doing. Might be, a little more detailed on just what we want happening. We're talking about a little, still can be short, but, I'll stop talking. Let's vote.
Okay, I move that we approve the minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, we're cruising, y'all. Okay, the next item is number 502, is our parks update.
I'll take it away. Good evening, everybody. Michael Chris, the Parks Manager for the City of Winter Springs. I just have a very high-level presentation for you guys today that goes over the projects that we work on. This doesn't include the day-to-day of maintenance of the Parks Department and the various things that may pop up. This is just pretty much the projects that we've been working on. Can I control it with this? No. Well, no.
It's on behind you.
Yeah. It's not moving slides, though.
There's did you just, oh, God,
they
Did
broke
you
it.
just change it, or was that me? Because there was another.
No,
one.
it was Tristan.
Okay.
So I'll start with our Winter Wonderland of Lights. I think that's where we left off at. We were in the middle of the drive-through. We had about 13,500 cars, and that was over the week of the 8th to the 12th, and we did have one night that was canceled. So by far, this was the highest total of cars that we had for the span of the event. We just had the Scottish Highland Games, and that was a very good event. We did the general grounds maintenance. It's pretty much takes up 2 weeks of our time, plus the Saturday, Sunday, begin Monday, Tuesday cleanup. So we have to do the general fencing install and breakdown, and then the big one is the field and irrigation repairs after the event. Our Veterans Banner program was, we just put the banners up around the city. It honors the local veterans by displaying their banners along the designated city streets, and right away, right now, we have them all in Blumberg, kind of surrounding the Veterans Memorial. And it honors the Winter Springs residents who have served in the U.S. Armed Forces. The banners are displayed from January through June. We take them down when we do our 4th of July banners. And then you can renew for an additional fee, which is reduced from the original cost of $200 for the first year. Registration will open from January 27th, so it's currently open, and will run until October 1st at 5 p.m. We have our parks maintenance update. So this is just the general projects that have been started and completed since the last meeting that we had. So we had the Sunshine Park overgrowth removal throughout the whole back of the park. We trimmed down all the brush that was up and kind of picked the trees up, make the area look a little nicer. We pressure washed Central Winch Park, so we've just been moving through the areas that the Highland Games would use. We still have a little bit of ways to go because it is a big space. We repainted the restrooms at the trailhead at Central Winds Park, and we painted the parking spots at Ranchlands, Moss, and Central Winds. We're taking the times when we have time and when there's not as many cars in the parking lots to try to redo all of the parking spaces that we can to make them more visible to the public. Next, we have the refurbished sand pit, and at Torcaso Park, we were actually able to, in concurrent with the volleyball project that we had, able to do the sand pit at Torcaso. So we were able to refurbish that, bring some of the sand up, and we were able to trim some of the palms around the swing set. We pressure washed the pickleball courts and the fences surrounding. We installed the surge protectors at Central Winds Park admin building, which will help a lot during the upcoming hurricane season to potentially save any electronics that we have. In the middle building there, we remulched Sam Smith Park Playground, and with the mulch that we had left over, we were actually able to take care of Fruitwood Park and the back swing set at Central Winds Park with extras, so we were able to kind of make use of the extra mulch we had left over. And then some of the accessibility enhancements that we've been working on. We improved access to the tennis courts, Pam Carroll Pavilion, and the small pavilion near the baseball fields at Trotwood Park. So near the small pavilion at Trotwood, we included the walkway from the handicap spots to the pavilion and a small section that leads to the water fountain as well. Near the Pam Carroll, we connected the handicap spaces to the actual Pam Carroll itself. Since I took this photo, they've actually seal coated it, so it's darkened up and matches the rest of the paint around. And we have also connected from that side parking lot, the new parking lot at Trotwood, to the tennis courts and pickleball courts rather than a dirt walkway. We added a connection to the Torcaso Park Pavilion from the handicap spots on the current sidewalk. And there was a rope there. We took that rope out, but that's an easier walkway to get to the pavilion, and we're going to go back and paint it after it rests. It needs a certain amount of time before you can paint new concrete. And then we connected the picnic tables at the small sports playground at Central Winds Park to the playground itself. and connected the walkway from the baseball fields between fields 4 and field 1 to the walkway that runs down the entire soccer road at Central Winds Park. So I know I'm moving fast. Does anybody have any questions on those?
No?
I figured it out. I was thinking the wrong baseball field. I couldn't figure out what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah. And then upcoming parks items, these are things that are just generally planned. We have the park entrance refurbishments and signage upgrades. So we're going to add new signage and new landscaping around the entrances to the majority of our parks. We're updating the bathroom dispensers, so we're going to a different brand that could potentially hold more toilet paper, more paper towels, and just to kind of make all of the parks, including the senior center, be one and the same. We're just working on the baseball fields for opening day, which is next Friday. It's a big night for the city as a whole. We have the amphitheater field refurbishment after the Highland Games. It's never easy to get that field back to the way it is, but we're going to be doing a lot of work to try to get it ready for July 4th, and a little more work than we usually would, including some general groundwork and weeding and various things throughout the field there. Swing set repainting at Central Winds Park. That back swing set needs a little bit of work. We, on top of that as well, we've ordered some new replacement parts for that playground at the soccer road that have been broken for about a month, to try to get those fixed. And then we're looking to redo the Central Winds Park sports playground, the rubber surfacing. It's starting to fade due to the sun. We're trying to bring that up, make it look nice.
Where are you talking about for the last one?
It's the one that's near the road inside the park. It's on the left, as if you're driving towards the dumpster area on the soccer fields. In the upper field area, it's the tot. We call it the tot playground, or the sport playground, but it kind of has the footballs and the basketball or
Okay,
the
so
soccer balls and
There's a
stuff
name
on
to
it.
it, and I'm trying to get to it, and it's not getting there. So that's the one you enter. You just said left, so now I don't know. That's
So
right.
when you enter into the park, you
Mhm.
make the first right turn and you go around the bend. It's the one up there on the left.
The Field of Dreams?
Yeah, Field of
I know it
Dreams,
can-
Tot Playground. It
Okay, now-
call it a bunch of different codes.
But
Okay,
the-
so what did you do? I'm sorry. I need to-
We haven't done it yet. The rubber surfacing over time just starts to fade, so we're trying to bring color back into it. And it was a nice blue before. It's starting to fade to a lighter blue. We want to bring that blue back up and make it pop again. It's a minor thing, but in the grand scheme of things, it looks really good. And then the park sidewalk pressure washing, we're going park by park and pressure washing the sidewalks, making sure everything's safe. And with that, we'll check every sidewalk and we'll mark anything that's broken and repair anything as well.
You said that there were some parts in the back playground that you were replacing?
No, the same Tot playground.
Oh, same,
But
okay.
the swings, we're going to be sanding down the swing set and
Okay.
repainting because it needs a little bit of work.
Okay.
And then again, this is just upcoming projects. This doesn't include general maintenance of the parks or things that might pop up on a day-to-day basis as well. And then some upcoming events and programs. We have our father-daughter dance this Friday and Saturday night. We are completely booked solid for both of those nights. And then we have our Winter Springs Babe Ruth opening day on February 13th. That's always a fun night. It's very crowded out at Central Winds. We have our Arbor Day tree registration that opens on February 13th, not March 13th. That's a typo. And then we have our movie in the park on March 6th. Our egg sighting egg hunt, which is on March 28th, the week before Easter, and Fish Winter Springs May 2nd and 7th. Any questions? That's all for the presentation.
What's the age for the Fish Winter Springs?
We try to keep that 5 to 12.
Okay. Kids are out.
It's very popular event
Yeah.
though. That one last year sold out in I think 16 minutes.
That's awesome.
And we have the 2 weekends.
And the
What-
father-daughter dance sells out now too.
Yeah, we
They
actually
say
had to
when I-
expand it to 2 nights because of the popularity
Yeah.
of it. And we have 440 people that have signed up with a waiting list
Yeah.
of up to 40
That's great.
people on one night. So
I'm gonna,
We missed out one time and we had to do our own like little father-daughter
Yeah.
planning because I had no idea it was going to sell out like that.
I didn't think it would become as popular as it has, but
It's very cute.
definitely in the last 3 years.
I will pitch this to you guys again, but there's a lot of mothers out there that feel left out. So a mother and son dance might be nice. It's separate. You don't have to do it the same nights, of course.
Something we can look into.
Okay.
Um,
Other,
Yeah, they don't have any place for us to make suggestions or anything. I mean, you know what I'm saying on the agenda?
Right now can be your time.
yeah, go
Okay,
for it.
we need to put something there to say, okay. Amphitheater. They added at least one curb cut on that side, they're going into the amphitheater, and then 4 parking spots and 2 the ramps there too. So that project is done. It's really nice because it happened before we had all the big things going on. Then I checked out Trotwood and same things that I was like, wait a minute. If you can't get in the shade and you can't get the water, we're in trouble. But they put the sidewalks, I saw those, and that's done. The only thing that, I try to keep them cheap projects. We're not going to be making a big deal someplace, but the baseball field that has a nice sidewalk going from the handicap spots, and it goes and it stops before you get to where you need to sit. And I went there tonight, and I realized if you want to keep it with the, the stones instead of a regular sidewalk, even just making some of the areas near the benches wider, so a wheelchair could at least sit there, and it would be nice to have something more for wheelchairs to go on to get to those seats. I don't know if you didn't want sidewalks or you want stepping stones instead, but, because I went there and it's not wet, and it was still hard, and I'm not in a wheelchair where my body weight's pushing it down. So, I mentioned that one before. I'm trying to think what's the other one. And I think this is in the plan, so maybe you'll get to that, but by dog park, pickleball, and all that, you put speed bumps in, which is fine. I guess we have people who want to play fast, but there's no place to walk. So I didn't know if that was in like your list of to-dos when you get, the money kind of thing. But it needs a sidewalk going down there so people can go to the dog park, to pickleball, and also because they're on bikes a lot of times, they can't go on the road.
Yeah, I can speak to that specifically. Brian Dunigan, Director of Administrative Services and Operations. So there is in the Central Winds Park Master Plan that was adopted by the Commission about a year ago, pretty substantial recommendations from that plan on new sidewalks within Central Winds, and that is one of the areas that was identified as a potential opportunity to add a sidewalk running parallel with that existing road, and eventually providing improved connectivity all the way down to Lake Jessup. So that is something that is in that plan as far as the specific location relative to how close to the road it would go versus closer to the existing swell. There would be some more evaluation needed on that, just because there is some infrastructure to the right of that road, stormwater infrastructure, and some other utilities as well. So we would have to take that into consideration, but it is something that is at least identified as a potential multimodal improvement within Central Winds in that master plan.
The only thing about that one, Craig, bad experience of the years, it's in the plan, doesn't mean anyone even thinking of doing it. It's not a priority in their mind for the next 5 years or something. So I just want to put it up there. That area is, I stop, look both ways like I'm walking, instead of, because you could hit somebody easily. So I just know that they were talking about maybe moving the path a little bit differently and then making a sidewalk, because it's not very safe. So, is there any other? Hold on. Someone else
Yes,
pop in.
I
and I'll
will.
take a look at my notes. Help me out.
In the January 12th meeting, at the commissioner meeting, they talked about grants for a boardwalk, and an estimate for the boardwalk. And has there been any movement or any further discussion about that?
Yes, so we have previously engaged with a grant writer on an RTP Recreation Trail Program grant back in 2019, and I believe carried into 2020 for the bathrooms that are across from Choices in Learning next to the Cross Seminole Trail at Central Winds. So we did re-engage with that grant writer again, who has worked with the city in the past, and had a kickoff call with him last week. We shared all the information that we've already put into the project, like work that we've already done, and then also did issue him a PO. So he's reviewing that information right now. The good thing is that one of the things we did find out in our conversations with him is the initial application deadline for that RTP grant has been pushed back because they're still dealing with the last round of applicants from the previous cycle. So we are moving forward with that, and that would be a reimbursement grant. So the way that would work is the city would still have to budget for the expense on the front end of that project. With a potential reimbursement if the grant were awarded to the city. So there has been some movement on that. And, we're looking forward to a follow-up call with him in the coming weeks to get his thoughts on the project and evaluate, kind of what we've put together so far and, his recommendation on, next steps of applying for that grant.
Okay, thank you.
But it's not been approved by the the wildlife and water people yet, right?
There is some partial permits that have been approved through, I believe it's the Water Management District that our capital projects director was working with. So the Army Corps, our understanding it right now is that as long as we're using wood components, pressure treated wood, that would not involve certain permitting from the Army Corps of Engineers, but there would still be permitting from St. John's. So that does add a level of simplicity to the project that we're not involving another outside agency in potential permitting, which is a good thing, obviously, when it comes to constructability and timelines and things like that.
And as I always say, when you make the actual design, please consider having parts that have places to sit.
Yeah, we've done other similar projects and had areas that have kind of bump outs and dedicated areas for whether they be just standing or walking or people that want areas to congregate, or we can add benches. So that would be something that we would look at as well with the construction, is areas that have a little bit more space on them.
Okay, and my version of that would have been another dock on the other side, but and leave out all of the. So if we don't get that, maybe consider a dock by the amphitheater, because and places to sit. That's the other one I forgot about. I knew that at the dock they don't have any place to sit, and if they even just take the cement seats that are outside it on the sidewalk and move it over there, because if I go, I have to stand there to watch the alligators in the morning. There's no place to sit.
I did have another question about, when was the last time that we had an estimate done for the lower lights, the lower field lights?
Have we gotten anything from them? Yeah. We did have a meeting with a manufacturer, initial meeting a couple months ago, and had a walkthrough with them, shared with them some information on the existing facilities, where the potential tie-ins are in for electric. I don't know if we received an estimate back from them. If we did, that estimate really, we would need to look at that from a procurement standpoint and see if that's the type of approach we're going to take. That those initial numbers are pretty substantial, and just getting a quote from one company without a formal ITB or RFP, there would need to be a more formal procurement process if we were going to go with that type of approach, like a turnkey approach, if you will, from a professional lighting, sports lighting manufacturer. So there's some other approaches that we're looking at right now that we may be able to look at that would be still accomplish the goal of providing lights to those facilities, but not at the costs that we've kind of heard and some of the initial numbers that we've seen going back.
So we're looking at other options instead
Correct.
of the like major lighting.
That is correct.
Okay, well, that's good.
And when you do that, you could remember the dog park.
Yeah.
One doesn't want to put lights there. I don't know when they think dogs are going to get crazy at night or something. And I found what I was missing. At Trotwood Park, you have the circle, basketball courts and all that, and the new sidewalk that goes over here. The only handicap spot in that whole area is as far as you can get away from everything. It's like right where you enter. So if you're repaving spots and stuff, it'd be nice just to move that one over towards the center a bit more.
We are looking at adding one near the pickleball courts, but we can look at the rest by the tennis court side, the
Oh,
new
oh,
parking
that's
lot.
right, I forgot.
So we're looking to add one in that parking lot, but thank you.
Okay.
But we'll look at other options for the park and just analyze the spots as a whole.
Yeah, because it's just for the circle, and it's as farthest to the street, not close anywhere near any of the other stuff. And that is, if you're painting it anyway, that's all it is, it's paint pretty much the sign. So,
Also, I know bringing up the pickleball courts, it was mentioned previously when they were redoing them about putting a net up between the pickleball and tennis. I don't know that it could still be done. Is that something that they were still considering doing? Because I know like the pickleballers, like when we were playing tennis, were asking about it.
I mean, it's something we can look into.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll take a look at
Just
options.
because you only have those two courts and they're separated by nothing, so it's, I mean, using like tennis is really hard when you just have balls coming across constantly.
Yeah, we'll take a look at options.
Okay.
I don't know why people don't know maybe about it, but I've never seen very many people use the pickleball courts at the senior center. They sit empty all the time. Because I could see the tennis people saying, one court for the whole city. What, can't you give me two? Well, there's one court I don't, maybe people need to I'll advertise it or something, because it's nice there and everything, but I don't see many people doing it.
Best kept secret, Winter Springs. Yeah, there's not many people that play pickleball on that court because we do have the other options at Central Winds and Trotwood. I know I go use that one at the senior center because I know it's always empty.
Because you
But-
know it's there too.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I'm thinking about, I was brought up with tennis. Pickleball didn't exist yet, you know what I'm saying? But there's only two courts for all of us. Can leave those alone and then I'll advertise the other pickleball court or something. It just seems like there should be another way around it.
Okay, any other questions?
Yes, sorry. I have two questions. One was just an update on the beach volleyball padding on the posts.
Everything was ordered. It just takes time to procure them and get them
Okay, I
in.
wasn't sure if it was in. I saw them, I guess they found some in storage that they've been,
I noticed that today.
I was like, what is she, why is she taking, she can't take those.
Yeah, I took a ride past and I saw red up on the poles and I was like, those weren't there yesterday.
Yeah.
So yeah, I noticed that, but ours are on order. So whenever they come in, we'll put them up.
Did they give you an estimate by any chance?
Of time for them to show
Yeah.
up.
What was the
Uh,
shipping time?
It usually takes 2 to 4 weeks,
Oh, okay. 2 to 4
but they were
weeks.
ordered last week. So
Okay.
whenever they're on,
I'll
I'll
let them know.
yeah.
And then the only other question I had, which is, I mean, it's kind of a big one, was from the master plan projects and the master plan, is there anything that's in process right now that is getting started or planned to get started or anything? I'm really excited about that master plan. It's just so cool.
Yeah, I would say the big initiative that we did get some direction from on the commission at the last commission meeting is the boardwalk at Central Winds. They did want us to go ahead and pursue a potential grant for that project, or at least the first phase of it. So that is a pretty substantial component of that master plan. There are some smaller things as well. I mentioned potential sidewalk improvements to improve connectivity and mobility within the park. Mike mentioned during his update also small landscaping enhancements that we're going to be doing at some of the neighborhood parks. We're also looking at some areas at Central Winds just new signs, maybe looking at some additional wayfinding for people that are walking or biking through the park so they can navigate and know, where the different amenities are. And yeah, so there's some small things from a, scalability standpoint that we're able to cover, fairly reasonably. But the boardwalk would be the big one. And then, obviously the lights on the lower practice fields has been the other big topic of conversation for I'd say probably the last year and a half. So we're actively looking at different options, Mike and myself, as well as our director of capital projects and facilities. We're actually going to be having a meeting next week just internally to go over some additional options, and then potentially be presenting something in the upcoming budget to the commission that and get their feedback on a potential project approach for that as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Observation, I don't really quick. I noticed that like Sunshine Park, because it's a senior center, the place, has a nice decorative thing, goes up, has the name of the park there. It is rusting out. The paint is horrible. And then I started looking at the other ones, the entrances to the smaller, what I call small parks. I know the big ones are getting, all that signage so you don't get lost, but
Right. Yeah, those column sign features that are at a lot of the parks, those are most of them are about 25 years old. Those are part of our in Mike's update that he shared, the new signage. That is going to be something we're going to be actually deconstructing. A lot of those, they're in very poor condition. It's become extremely labor intensive with Mike's team to maintain them with the age they're in. So, and they look pretty outdated. So we do have a plan that we're going to be going through some of the parks. The senior center is one of them, our Sunshine Park, and removing that existing vertical column and sign panel and replacing it with, a more modern sign that has a little bit better visibility, and then also some potential landscaping enhancements on that median as well, pulling into the park. So that's one of the locations we've identified of, I think there's like 6 probably, that we identified. Mike and I went out about a month ago and came up with a list of everything that we'd like to get accomplished, and we'd like to, try and, address one of those once a month from now through the end of the year, the end of the fiscal year.
is there any way, because I know everyone gets, we don't want to give you a list of things we're going to do, and then sometimes we don't do it because of money or weather or whatever. I would love to see what you're planning to do, sort of, meaning this is your wish list. We have the commission agrees, whatever, because by the time we seem to know about it, it's too late to comment. You're building it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we can, I believe, Tristan, their next meeting's in May.
Yes.
Yeah, we can, for the next update, kind of give you a snapshot, sort of what Mike did today, of what has been completed and then what would be on the schedule for the remaining months of the year through the end of September.
But we don't know what's going on for this part of the year. That's what I'm saying is, it's rather vague, so I can't say, hey, you forgot this part because you don't tell me which parts all the time. And I'm not going to go, see, you put this in writing, you have to do it, I know it's just your top 10 list of things you're going to do, because a lot of things are done and then I have to go, but retrofitting things is harder than doing it the first time.
Okay, so I hear the request is that at future meetings, we want to, we love hearing the updates of what has been done, but we could also maybe some of the highlights looking forward.
Yeah,
for the next
like
meeting.
a look ahead for the next
Yeah,
quarter.
that would be
Yeah,
great.
we can do that. And, obviously, sometimes things change.
Sure.
Right.
Beyond our control, whether it be budgetarily, we have an unexpected major repair that we have to address, or, summertime weather and hurricane season always throws a fun wrench in things from
Yeah,
time to time.
yeah.
So, yeah, but we can certainly work at, moving forward, kind of a look ahead for the next quarter of some of the key high-level things that we're going to
But
be.
there's no big thing, meaning except for the signage and stuff like that, and cleaning up certain areas, there's no projects?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit at the last meeting about the projects, and I think there's different individuals that have different ideas of what would be considered a project. Like obviously the boardwalk at Central Winds is a major capital project, as well as the lights. potentially at the practice field. So, some of the other things that are more, maintenance things that are non-routine that maybe we're only doing every few years, or, simple landscaping upgrades and signage upgrades. Some people may consider those projects, some people may have looked those more of like a maintenance function, but we can certainly give you an idea of, what we're going to be working on.
I think that you all can probably use your judgment on
Yeah.
the distinction there. We don't need
Sure.
a laundry list of every single,
Yeah, I don't think you want
I
that.
don't
bed.
want
You
to
wanna
know
maintain,
that you're
but-
weeding at this
Yeah.
park and
Yeah.
not that park, and I'm not going to tell you, you got to go that one too, kind
Right.
of thing. I'm just worried about, we're going to replace this playground, this small little playground equipment over here. And then it's totally not handicapped accessible. If I know this is happening and you say, what do you think? Then I could say, wonderful, you're getting the hang of this, or, we need something else there or something. But, so.
I hear, I think, Leah, what you're asking for is you want the opportunity to be proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah.
And so it would be helpful going forward. If we wait to the next meeting to get that would be great. I don't know, potentially there's something that could be even entertained to have Tristan send out to everybody. That would also probably be
Yeah, if you can do it
appreciated.
before the meeting so we can go look, but I know you have lots to do.
Yes.
But that's the kind of thing is, I mean, yeah, you're doing, I know you're always doing something like for the sidewalks or whatever, they get cracked and stuff like that. I'm more concerned with where they have to fill in, but so far I think you got all my spots, but I didn't go to, why can't I ever say that one?
I heard you saying
Pasco.
you appreciated some of the work that's been done recently.
I always say these things, but no one ever listens. They think she complains. No, once you do it, I start
I heard,
complaining.
that's why I'm calling it out.
praise you, because you did exactly what I thought you should do with the sidewalks.
Well, kudos then, guys.
Yeah, but I also, being overly observant, notice that you don't repeat what I ask about certain things to be done that I've asked several times, and you think, it just disappears, so I don't know. But now I forgot what I was going to say to begin with.
I'm sorry.
I know,
I think we just want to help. I think that,
It's easier to help ahead of time, because if you buy equipment, it could be very expensive, they're advertised as handicap accessible. Well, just because you don't have steps to the middle point, you have a ramp, doesn't make it anything to do when you get up there. So, we want to help, and you can always take our help and say, too bad, but,
Okay. Anything else?
I was trying to see, when is our fiscal year end again?
September 30th.
September, I was thinking October. Okay.
yeah, I never understood that.
Starts in October.
Ah,
Yep.
Oh, this may be only personally me,
okay.
because I don't have a clue. I know what was budgeted for handicap accessibility, and I know you did a lot, so I was wondering, I don't have a clue how much that stuff costs. Just a ballpark figure.
I'd have to, give me 1 second. So what was budgeted for accessibility enhancements in FY '26 was $100,000. We asked to set up an initial project budget of $50,000 for new sidewalk at Trotwood Park, which all three of those items have been completed. 2 new sidewalks at Central Winds, which both of those have been completed. 2 new sidewalks at Torcaso Park, which both of those have been completed. Some miscellaneous costs for Mike and his team to go and backfill and sod after those projects are done around the new sidewalks. A certain amount of money for paint to convert existing regular parking spots over to ADA spots, along with handicap parking signage. And then the other one that we're working on is a new PVC handrail inside the therapy pool. There's a run where there's not an existing handrail, so that one is the one that's not completed yet, but we're working on. We do have to have that custom built for us, and it has to be out of PVC because it's an indoor pool, so stainless steel is just not going to last in there. So those are the initial improvements that we've identified and budgeted, or not budgeted for, but we've identified to utilize those funds for this year.
Okay.
I will
So
say,
you're saying you used half of it, or are you just budgeting for the 50?
we've asked for about half of it now. I will say, the pricing on the sidewalks came back a lot better than what Mike and I first thought it was going to come back at. So we were very, very pleasantly surprised at, how far we were able to stretch those dollars for the new sidewalks that did exist.
So you're under what you asked for. So you're good.
Yeah, so far,
you're
everything that
prepared.
we've identified going into the year, we feel like there's enough money, to accomplish those items.
Hopefully that'll happen with the lower light fields.
Yeah.
Wow,
A lower
really? That's
price.
amazing.
Yeah.
Did you say two sidewalks at Central Winds? Or did you mean?
Yeah, so two different runs. One of them was connecting an existing seating area that was in the presentation that Mike had. So there's two ADA picnic tables that have accessibility from an existing parking area, but there was no connectivity from that seating area directly to the playground. So we added a sidewalk there. There's a photograph of that, and then also a pretty long run of sidewalk connecting some existing parking to another
Is that
sidewalk within the
where-
park.
I'm trying to figure out, I know the picture and I saw it and you said it and I think, I don't know where that is. You're talking about what I call the original park area?
It's at the Field of Dreams playground is where
More sidewalk?
yeah, that's where we added those two.
I'll have to
They're
look.
they're both in the vicinity of that. One of them provides direct connectivity from a ADA accessible seating area that has two wheelchair accessible picnic tables. That was in the picture.
I didn't go
that
down
Mike
there,
had on
that's
his
why I got
presentation.
confused. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I thought I was going to have plenty of time to talk about this, but I don't want to keep everybody here too long. But I do want to give some updates that I mentioned at the last meeting. As I mentioned last time, while I feel like most of my committee members are most interested in Parks and Recs, no offense, but I'm actually very interested in the trails and connectivity. So I've had a few meetings. I met with Jesse Phillips, who's a resident of Winter Springs, and he's also on the Community Advisory Committee for MetroPlan Orlando. He and I had some correspondence with Jay Zembauer, Commissioner at the county. And I also met with the city of Castleberry, which is what I'm going to spend the majority of my time talking about. Tristan, thank you also for sharing with us the city's 2022 comprehensive plan for open spaces, which included inside of it some thoughts on future trail connectivity as well. I will say one thing that I feel like is the trail system and connectivity and mobility really hasn't been an emphasis for the city of Winter Springs. We have that mentioned there, but it really isn't comprehensive. And maybe that's something I want to bring a little bit more to the forefront and put some kind of oomph behind it. So some of the intel that I learned was the county has a really great master trail plan together that is published online, Seminole County Master Trail System. And one of those really valuable ones for us would be what's called the Central Seminole County Trail, which would follow a lot of the Duke right-of-way, come up Winter Springs Boulevard, and then cut over to 1792, kind of west of the Highlands. That would be a great connector to Castleberry and to places north from Winter Springs. The county has kind of been stalled a little bit recently. They've had a lot of turnover in their county engineers, which has slowed some of the progress there, but I think they're hoping to make some more headway there. I hope that Winter Springs will be very engaged and supportive of that connection. The connective tissue is really critical through our county and part of the city properties as well as the Duke right-of-ways. And my understanding from the city of Castleberry was that there was a little bit of hesitation from Winter Springs to be supportive of that, partially due to the location of the water treatment plant on Castleberry Lane, that trail is going to crucially go right by that. So hopefully we can get some of those issues resolved and be really supportive of the county's plans to put that vital link in the trail system right through the county. I wanted to speak a little bit about Castleberry just because I don't want to make this a competition between cities. We love all of our fellow cities, so this is not a Winter Springs versus Castleberry. But I will say that I was quite inspired by what a priority that Castleberry is making this in their city. And if you humor me a little bit, I'll read some of the document that they have put together. It says by 2040, with a balanced multimodal transportation system, Castleberry will become the most walkable, rollable, bikeable city in Central Florida. And by the way, rollable to them isn't like just rollerblades, but it also means wheelchair accessible, by the way. Where active transportation becomes a viable and routine choice for daily mobility needs, thereby increasing community health, equity, economic vitality, and environmental stewardship. And for time reasons, I'm going to cut it off. I have more stuff I wanted to read, but I will have Tristan share out this document with you all so you can kind of see how that fleshes out in the more details of that plan. I will say they have a pretty healthy budget, which maybe may not be the case that we have here. They're going to invest $35 million in the next 10 years on their upgrades to their trails, which is pretty impressive. And for them, a trail is not a bike lane that's next to a heavily trafficked road. It's actually physically separated. They have these parameters, but just sometimes we call things bike lanes, but they're not really viable for bike transportation. But theirs are separate trails, at least like 8 feet wide. Again, maybe they have more budget than we do, but it's pretty impressive. And what I'll share with you also that Tristan will send out, they have an extensive map of the network of trails they want to create. Which, we have the map in our plans, but I hope but they're actually putting it into effect, and I hope maybe it's something that we can begin to do as well. One thing they wanted me to mention to the city of Winter Springs is one of their plans is what they call the Northeast Castleberry Trail, which will connect between Seminole Boulevard and Winter Park Drive. And part of that will actually pass through the city of Winter Springs. And we were talking about that a little bit. It's interesting. Part of that property is actually owned by the city of Castleberry, but it's in the city of Winter Springs. So they said they'll need at least a little bit of cooperation with the city of Winter Springs as they put that connection there. But that will connect Seminole with pretty close to the new skate park that Castleberry just put in on Winter Park Drive. And it's also going to be a vital connection for that, the Central Seminole Trail, which will connect right through kind of the heart of Winter Springs from, I'm sorry, I forgot the park's name over there. Do you know which park I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Not Torcaso. No, it's south of 434.
South of 434, Moss Park.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna create a connection there,
Mm-hmm.
and then going north, like I said, past the water park and up to like Shepherd Road and 1792 area.
Okay.
So, yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. I'm gonna try to continue gathering information and finding out how we can cooperate with the county and Castleberry efforts, but I hope that we can make it a priority and make it viable for people to get around. There's a lot of places that you just can't get here from there. It can take, a 2-mile trip that could be a quarter mile if we had the right connections in place, and make it easier to get onto the central Seminole Trail that's to come, as well as the Cross Seminole Trail, creating some more connections to those trails.
Does that mean, I just saw that, we'd have to work with the county for what, by the dog park with that corner, if he moves that at all?
If we move the trail?
It would, yeah, because they're talking about moving it a little farther back, so you can turn this way, then see the people coming. It's just a little curve and bump, so I just realized that we probably have to work with them for that too.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think what Ms. Weissman's talking about is at the end of Hicks Avenue, that it's definitely a choke point. So you've got Hicks Avenue, which dead ends. There's a cul-de-sac there for the turnaround for the Choices in Learning parents. And then you have the Cross Seminole Trail and the entrance to the dog park and pickleball facility. All of that kind of converges right at the same spot with no direct connectivity to State Road 434 for vehicles. So yeah, if certainly there was ever an opportunity for like some transportation improvements, not just for cars, but also pedestrians and bicyclists in that area, it would certainly involve in, getting FDOT and Seminole County involved, because they both have facilities on each side of Hicks, with State Road 434, south of Hicks, if you will, and then on the north side of Hicks would be the existing Cross Seminole Trail, as well as a residential driveway about 200 feet north, or, I'm sorry, west of that, for some homeowners who own property west of the dog park that we still have to, provide them a way to get to and from their homes. So, yeah, there's a lot going on in that area with different infrastructure.
Because I think in the master plan, all they're really talking about is to make it so you can actually turn and then look. Because now it's like you go here and you can only go, you have to stop, and you can't see, and the trees are in the way. Although I love the trees, I don't want to get rid of them.
Yeah,
Some of them might have to go just so we can see them.
We've done some small measures out there already with raising some of the existing tree lines to improve visibility for drivers, to make sure that they're able to see who's on the trails. And then we are also looking at adding another street light in that area. There's some challenges as well with that, and some existing infrastructure that we may have to work around. But we have had a meeting out there with Duke Energy about adding another street light as well, to bring more light to that general area where all of that is converging. So.
It's not like a traffic light, you mean like a light?
No,
Okay.
definitely not a traffic
Where's
light.
the traffic light?
No.
gonna
No, it's a
go?
street light.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, just a street light. And we've been working with our Public Works engineering team on that as well as Duke Energy.
It's just, well, watch out for wheelers and walkers or something.
Yeah, this is a very minor question, but as I'm riding down the trail, and this may be a county question, any point as a bicyclist when I have to stop, it's a huge loss of momentum, and it's stops are annoying to bicycle mobility. And I do wonder about that one spot on the Cross Seminole Trail by where there's that parking lot in front of Choices and Learning, parking lot by the soccer field, where there's like a stop sign that you have to stop. If you're coming down the trail, you have to stop at that parking lot. I wonder, like, there's a chance to take the trail out around the parking lot where you avoid that stop. But that may be more of a county question, but it's on city property though.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that. Yeah, I mean, the trail was pre-existing to some of that. Those other improvements, it predates Choices in Learning being built as well. So as far as like rerouting a portion of the trail to avoid that
Go around
parking
the
lot,
parking lot,
yeah, we would have to look at something like that, as it'd be I think the only way you'd be able to do it would, you'd have to actually go out onto what is now like an existing soccer field there. But
There's drainage before there
You'd
too,
Yeah.
like
back
it's out there,
behind
so that
the
would be
soccer
tricky.
field area, that playground over there almost.
I highly recommend stopping.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't see,
Is what I was
when I'm
saying.
the
Yeah.
trail, it's so dark that I literally cannot see it.
Yeah.
I really hope nobody's coming right now.
Yeah, there you go. See how you have to go, it's a 90-degree turn,
Yeah.
and so you can't see it then. They were talking about bigger loop here.
Gotcha.
And I'm talking about, since you got the picture, making this has spots for wheelchairs too, so they can
Gotcha.
travel through.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for listening. And like I said, I do hope to provide some additional updates as I talk to the county and get some idea of when they're hopefully going to start making progress on Central Seminole Trail, which can be huge for the
It's
city.
really cool about Castleberry. I didn't know that.
Yeah, like I said, it's very, very ambitious. And one of the other connections that I think the county is actually looking at through Winter Springs would be connecting that area of Winter Park Bowl to the Cross Seminole Trail. So like down 434 in front of like Winter Springs Elementary, and providing a way to get to the Cross Seminole Trail that direction as well. It's hard to get on the trail from certain parts of Winter Springs. So it goes right through the city, but there's not a lot of connection to it. So,
I don't have that, but it's okay.
all right, any other comments? All right, seeing none.
So we do officially
Oh.
have to open up for public input. I know
Oh,
you said comments,
nope.
but officially.
Officially, is there any public input from our audience?
And when you hear crickets, then you can go on.
And then I was also going to just relay again that the next meeting is May 6th. And we will, send out all the information for you guys. I just want to relay that as well.
Okay,
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
thank you. And with that, we'll adjourn the meeting.
So they
We out.
still don't want to